So, hi everybody. We are back and live. It has been a very magical day so far. We've had some really beautiful, beautiful sessions with Melinda, with Victoria, and with Gentry. And each of them, I just love how everything is kind of building on everything else that we've experienced over these 2 days. So, when you are hearing these, feel free to go back and have a listen to whichever ones you are drawn to listen to. And currently, I am actually going to give the floor to my beautiful friend, Kitty. She's going to be live tomorrow as one of our guest speakers. And I asked her if she would mind being the interviewer for me today at this summit. So I introduce you to my beautiful friend, Kitty.
Thank you, and thank you for the honor of being able to interview you, my very powerful friend. I'm going to let you do your own bio, and then I'm going to read this beautiful part that you've added that I think is spectacular. I think it sums it up better than anything you've ever called. So,
Mm.
um, Sandra and I have known each other 5 years
Yeah.
now. We actually met in a different group, and we just we almost forget that that's where we met
Yeah.
because it has grown from there, and that is often what happens, especially when you are an galactic shaman and inner dragon mentor, because I depend on my galactic shaman for help um, being in this world, because sometimes I'm going to cry in the stars, and I forget that I'm a Virgo North Node, I'm an astrologer, and that means I'm here to learn about the beauty of the mundane. Not so easy. And he has helped me understand my inner child and play with my inner child. And she has also let me understand that my inner child is a dragon. There
Mm.
is a dragon that my inner child rides on. And on the very first Lion's Gate, you don't know this, meditation you ever did, it was my inner child on who I am, a half and half lion, that I've come to understand is how I travel through this galaxy as this galactic reader of the stars, being human. So, with that, please introduce yourself. And I want to add this other beautiful piece.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And Kitty and I are doing Lionsgate tomorrow with you guys. So tune in for that. Literally a small town girl born and raised in Jasper National Park, and had a series of accidents that really put me on the pathway to looking for more help that was not necessarily Western medicine, but more of a metaphysical, holistic type of thing. And what's unfolded from that is almost unbelievable because I didn't know anything about crystals. I didn't know anything about guides per se. And here I am today, and I'm shocked and in awe of myself, of who I've become because I've chosen to step into following that path to figure this out a little bit more deeply. And I think that's the simplest way to say things. Thank you.
And she has many titles. Um, and she continually, which is what I love about Sandra, understands that this is not a singular focus for her. She is an expansive person. And I love this. From a whisper to a roar, Sandra leads women doing their inner work with their inner child to their inner dragon, creating the pathway to their full potential. I'm going to say that again. So I'd like you to close your eyes, Sandra, while I read that. From a whisper to a roar, Sandra leads women doing their inner work with their inner child to their inner dragon, creating a pathway to their full potential.
That truly brings up so much emotion in me. And, we've been talking through this entire summit about the awareness, about listening to what's being said by others to ourselves, as well as listening to what our guides are saying. And this whisper to a roar really was gifted to me, I think, gosh, maybe back in October of last year. And I it was in a whole gambit of things. But when I was looking over it, really wanting to hone in on what I do, I really recognized the power of that from a whisper to a roar. And in essence, what I truly do help people with is the things that we've been talking about all along here today, limiting beliefs, expectations, awareness. There was another one, inner child. It's so funny. The one just went floating away into the galactic energies there. And the galactic shaman part of myself, so aware of that beautiful ripple effect. We heard Victoria talk about the waves. And it's really, in essence, I want to tell you guys, first of all, what my true mission is on this earth. I would seriously like to step into helping 1 million women empower themselves. And you've heard time and time again, like Gentry said the same thing, that she wants to help people learn how to do something. We're not here to tell you guys how to do something. That's the whole purpose of this summit, is so that you can learn about how to be more than you are at any given moment, right? And part of that is that inner child, and that I've done a lot of exploration over this past year with regards to the inner dragon. And I'm in awe. Again, I'm going to be using that word a lot, because I'm stunned as to, and I'm going to rephrase that because I'm very conscious of my words as well. And that's something that I really truly bring up as well with the inner child work, is the awareness of the words that we're saying. I said, I am stunned. I really dislike saying I am something that is going to possibly adversely affect me. So I am going to
There's
say
a good
instead.
reason for that for you.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? If you know
Yeah.
my track record, I have a few injuries that I can tell you all about. Having said that, I feel very, very fortunate. I feel very honored that I have been chosen to do the work that I love with a passion, and that's helping you discover that innermost piece of yourself, how to love yourself to a whole different degree, so that your inner dragon, and it's very similar to the higher self energy, and really helping that inner dragon be unleashed further. Our inner dragon does come up sometimes because it's an action taker. However, with the inner child, who's the protector, that inner dragon part doesn't get as much freedom as it would like to have. And so when we get rid of our expectations, limiting beliefs and things, then that inner dragon piece really gets to shine in a way that it never has before. And a number of my community are here right now, and I think they can each attest to how they have started to really shift into that inner dragon energy and recognize the power that each of them are having because of that. And that's what I want to empower each of you with, is this inner dragon piece, I guess, if you will.
Well, and it's the balance.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be asking you about that balance of that inner child and the inner dragon. But the first thing I'm going to share is the first thing you taught, which I think is kind of where we are in evolution, is the idea of holding space for
Mm.
all of those pieces. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that you don't always hear that. People will launch into what they do and how they see things, but you have always started with the space.
Yeah, yeah. And I love this because, again, our very first speaker this morning spoke about space as well. So in essence, this is a phrase that I heard a long time ago, was this holding space, and really didn't understand what that meant. And then I started to realize that it was honestly about recognizing our emotions, our feelings, and literally just giving them room to be experienced, acknowledged and experienced, I guess, if you will. And so in our growth, when we are holding space for ourselves, we're letting ourselves be. We're letting ourselves be in that space, be whatever it is in that moment, so that we can be in more awareness, I guess, if you will, be more open. Like I'm open with no expectations, no limitations, and really recognizing I am the one creating the outcome. If I'm have somebody come up and say in my Facebook feed and they've gone through something traumatic, I'll reach out and say, I'm holding space. Well, I'm holding space so that they can experience their experience, knowing that there's someone supporting them there, that isn't necessarily telling them they have to do something a specific way, but just holding space so that they can be. so they can experience, right?
Paradigm shift on that is also when I hold space for someone else, I recognize where I end and they begin.
Mm,
Um, and that's really an important part. I've learned from you, I don't say the words I'm sorry anymore when someone passes. I didn't do it. I can hold the space, I can send them healing. So that was the other piece of holding space. And that has led me into and learning about that inner child, the protector. Because when I held space, tell us about the inner child's able to protect without being so busy and hiding. Can you
yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
So the inner child has affected us from basically conception to, or not affected us, it's affecting us now as an adult. It has been molded, if you will, or created from conception to usually 7, 8 years of age and into our adulthood as well. And uh, when we react to something and we're saying something along the lines of, "Oh man, why am I talking like that? Why am I acting like this?" That's that inner child who's in protection mode. And when we start to understand the reasoning behind that, why are they acting? Why are we reacting? Why are we saying the things that we're saying? We can finally discover the point that that began and rewrite the energy of that, because that's one of the things that I really find is quite powerful, is when we change the trajectory of the emotions. And Kitty and I have had lots of conversations around emotions, and the 90 seconds from Jill Bolte Taylor. I'll have you guys recognize this first, is that whatever age you're at, if you think for a moment that technically all that we're really being asked to do is to recognize and acknowledge those emotions and feelings that we're going through for about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Okay. Well, I am 60.
90.
Yeah.
Yeah, nine
Seconds.
zero.
I'm 60 and I've been holding on to emotions and feelings. One of them was from the age of 12 till I was like 15, 8. That's not 90 seconds. That's decades of holding on to that emotion. That's what your inner child is reacting from. That is why you are acting like that or speaking like that as an adult. And so when you learn to start to let go of those things, learn to love yourself. I loved me for the longest time. I didn't love myself until 2022 is when I really started to love myself. Go ahead.
Please explain the difference.
Yes. Yeah. 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 So loving me, I mean, breathe your way through this with me. Okay. I am love. I am loved. I am loving. I am lovable. I love me. I love myself. I am divine love. We are divine love. And so it is. Now, you may have noticed that it was very, very simple on one hand to say, I love me, because you're saying, oh, hey, I love me, right? It's so easy to say, I love me. However, when you actually decide that you're going to love yourself and you say, I love myself, you are going really deep inside, and you can feel that in your belly. You can feel that in the essence of who you are, because now you're starting to make a connection with your physicalness, your humanness, your soul energy. We had a conversation the other day about soul money, and this is like the money that you're feeding your soul is that love energy. And I know I kind of went off on a tangent there. Yeah, that inner child, when it begins to love, feel the love, feel the support of you telling yourself that you love myself, I love me, then that inner dragon energy begins to shine and show so much more and lead the inner child in the direction of taking action in its life in a whole different manner, right?
Talk a little bit more about that, because the relationship between the child and the dragon at times for me is like, I don't get it. Why can't it be both? And
Mm,
talk a little bit about that for us.
yeah.
I'm still learning this, so.
And I love this. These are very powerful questions. So if actually, why don't I just lead you through something? So if you can just close your eyes for just a moment, and I want you first of all to understand it is in the simplicity of things. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to ask to connect with your inner child. And that's as simple as saying one of two things. You can use inner child or little you. So you can go, I would like to connect with my inner child. Beautiful. Now I imagine, come back into this beautiful space that we're in, this sacred container, and maybe write in the chat what came up for you when you connected with your inner child, okay? And anything is absolutely fine. You may have just gotten an emotion, a feeling, you may have gotten a color, you may have gotten a frequency, a number, you may have actually gotten a visual of yourself as a small child, right? Whatever the case is. So I'll give you just a moment to write that down. If you feel as though you did not connect with your inner child, I would love for you to actually know that you have for sure connected with your inner child. This is a tool to be developed now. It is something that is actually very simple in that knowing that you're connecting is the first step to accepting, trusting, and believing. Okay. Yeah. So as those come through, I'm going to now ask you to close your eyes again and can ask to connect this time with your inner dragon energy. Beautiful. Then I'm going to ask you to come back into this space. There is likely a very distinct difference between those two energies. Either the color, the way it feels, the frequency, the wave, the emotions that are coming up, what you visually are getting. I know when I connect with my inner dragon, I actually feel my body move as well. Like there's this interesting little, it's almost like this unhinge or something that happens at my solar plexus waistline, which is really interesting. So you can take this a step further and you can take a breath as an inner child or a breath as an inner dragon and feel the differences in that. So let's do that for a moment too, okay? So taking a breath, recognize that you're connecting to your inner child, your little yous, and breathe. Breathe as your inner child would. And I'm actually going to ask you to hug that inner child, give it some love, say you love that inner child, you love that part of yourself. I love me, I love myself. Feel what that little you is feeling like. Thank it for participating. And now I invite you actually to connect again with your inner dragon and breathe as your inner dragon would. Beautiful. Come back into this space. I'm just reading some of the comments. Uh, and let us know what the differences were between that inner child and the inner dragon's breath. Okay. Would anybody like to come on camera and
Oh,
say, I
yeah,
know
please come on
Kitty.
camera.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead, Kitty, while we wait for someone else to raise their hand as well, please.
Um, the inner child, I'm laughing because I see little person and dancing. Mine was also dancing and very clearly had on bracelets, clanging the bracelets. And when I was breathing as her, it was very much here in a whirl, like under my hand. When we switched to the inner dragon, I felt it start there. And then I saw the little girl hold up the bracelet. There's a dragon on it. And it moved from here down to the dantian and then straight up into the throat. And it
Mhm.
stayed whirling in the throat. So very different. The colors were very different. Um, and like I said, I'm not as sure as what my inner dragon does, but I now know it's about my voice.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Would anybody else like to share? Because I want to go a little bit deeper with this as well, and talk about some of this, understanding what the inner
So
dragon
there's
is.
Maria.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I wrote in the chat, my inner child, I think she's tired. And there's a lot of people that want her attention right now. Like my husband was leaving for an appointment and tapping me on the shoulder. And I'm just like, I texted him because he's still texting me as I was trying to meditate in this thing. And I was like, I'm really trying not to be rude, but can I please have this moment for myself? Please, you guys can have me later. Like I've been waiting all day for Sandra's portion to come
And while
on.
you said that, your daughter stuck her head in and
Runs by
ran
and
through
then
the room. Yeah.
like it's just a whirlwind. So that it's funny because my inner child is sitting so still, laying
Hmm.
on the ground with her coloring book, like just leave me alone. And then my dragon, when I said I want to connect to my inner dragon, the one that came up was a dragon that it was introduced to me in one of my first medicine wheel journeys with you, and that was the dragon that took me everywhere. I called her my flight dragon. So when I
Hmm.
said my inner dragon, I was wondering which dragon would come up for me, and it was this green, shimmery, kind of sleek dragon, and she's fast and she likes to adventure and she likes to take me out, and that's what the vast difference was between my inner dragon's like, let's go on an adventure, and my inner child's like, I want to sit here and color.
Oh.
I don't know. I thought that was a cool dichotomy between the two.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Maria. I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper into this so that you guys understand. Like, Kitty was curious about what does my inner dragon do, and Maria was curious about what dragon is going to show up. Um, What's interesting is there are many dragons in our world when we choose to acknowledge and be a part of the dragon world. And you don't have to be a part of the dragon world. I will tell you, though, that we all have an inner dragon energy because it's that energy that is the action taker. If you've ever accomplished something in your life and you're like, oh, I'm so proud of myself for having done that, that's your inner dragon taking action. Okay. So now we want to move that inner dragon energy into being more prevalent in our life, being more of a power in our life, right? And so what does my inner dragon do is it basically, as we acknowledge and love our child and we start to ask the universe questions, and Kitty can definitely attest to this, when we start to ask the world questions or the universe questions, then things start to drop into our awareness in a different way that are moving us in that direction. And we can ignore those things and they can just kind of flip by, and nothing ever becomes of it. Or our inner dragon, if you will, goes, you know what? I think you maybe could pay attention to this, you know? And for example of this is, I had quite the event occur back in, I guess it would have been the end of April, where I was driving my truck from point A to ideally point C or D and only made it to B because it broke down. And so I was put into this position where I had to be in a hotel room for, I believe it was at least 2 nights, maybe even 3. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do in this space? What am I going to do here? I'm in a town where whatever's going on. I did not have my mountain bike. I'm an avid mountain biker. And so what was I going to do? Right. And I was literally told you need to ask questions about the inner dragon. And that whole series that was created by asking the inner dragon, what does it mean for humanity? that's all available on my YouTube channel, Sandra Pelley the Sandini, now as well. It's a 7-part series where I ask the inner dragon some really powerful questions about what is this inner dragon. And in essence, what it is it's this part of us that has always been there, will always be there, and we can allow ourselves to use it as the gateway or the portal or the driving force, the driving power, if you will, that moves us in the direction that we want to go. So like Gentry was here earlier and she was talking about her quilting and that, someone came and told her about how magical her quilting energy was when she wrapped herself up in the quilt. And Gentry's inner dragon energy went, hey, you could do something with this. Why don't you explore this? And so she did. So it's interesting because when we listened to Melinda, she talked about our thoughts, right? And our thoughts are so important in this. And when we pay attention to those thoughts, like our guidance works through our imagination. And I could get really quite emotional over this. When we're young, like for instance, I used to draw up this picture of a dog, and I always put a fence there, and I only drew the back end of the dog because I couldn't draw the front end of the dog. And somebody made a comment, and it was a rude comment to me about this, and it shut down myself. I shut myself down. My inner child stepped up to go, okay, you know what? If these people don't like this, and this is a bad thing that I'm doing, then I'm not going to do it. And so it took me decades to get to the point where I could actually go, okay, you know what? I would like some help with drawing energetically. I didn't necessarily reach out to a person, but I reached out to my creative guides and said, hey, I'd like some help. And the first drawing that I felt comfortable doing it's beyond belief what it turned out like. Like it was just entirely different than the fence and the dog and how I felt with that versus what I'm drawing now, right? And that's that inner dragon energy giving me the courage to go, hey, I'd like some help with this, right? Does that explain a little bit more?
Yeah, for me it does, because as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, because my curiosity is about the relationship of the inner child and the dragon, how they and like you said, in that Lion's Gate, I was riding. There was a dragon. I was riding the lion and a dragon, and that's really interesting because it's your inner dragon then that allows you to move forward, and your inner child helps take care of how you've been and
Yes.
that protection.
So let's take this a step further now. You guys have connected with your inner child. You've connected with your inner dragon. You've had an inner child breath and an inner dragon breath. Let's introduce them together. Now, for some of you are already doing this, but for those of you who this is new, know that you are in the power, that you can support your inner child, your little you, and let them know that they have nothing to fear with this inner dragon, because this is a very intimate part of who they are as well. And that in their, how does this want to come through? In their acknowledging that inner dragon part of ourselves, it starts to weave together the potential of who we can be. Okay, so let's take a moment again. Close your eyes. Connecting with your inner child. Connecting with your inner dragon, and maybe see them separate right now and invite them to come closer together, to introduce them that you are the facilitator right now. You are the person who is supporting this introduction to the two of them, between your inner child and your inner dragon. Now, when you come back to this beautiful space, I know for myself, there's a couple more things I'd like to tell you about the inner dragon and share my experience, and then I open it up to you guys sharing your experience. Your inner dragon is very much part of you. And it's really fascinating. For me, I'm a Leo. I'm actually very much of that fire sign. And
Birthday's tomorrow, everyone.
it is.
Just so you don't know, it's their birthdays tomorrow. Y'all know that. We're blowing that right out of the water. So, okay.
And my inner dragon actually happens to be a water dragon. And I've often heard people say, well, how can you have a fire and a water? Aren't you putting it out? And it's like, no, it's this mist and steam that gets created in that. And all this magic can happen in there. So know that however your inner dragon is showing up, like for Maria, she was very specific about, oh, what dragon is coming in? And then recognize that inner dragon. It is likely in this case that that inner dragon will show up potentially as that moving forward. Like she could probably ask it, what element are you? If and where are you coming in? Like if I was to close my eyes and feel it in my body, how is it coming into my body? What am I feeling? Because for myself, I actually feel mine spiraling up from the ground through all of my chakras up into the heart and throat area. And um and when I did this exercise that we have just done with you, my inner child is actually got floaties on her arms because she recognizes my dragon as a water dragon. Yeah. So it's just one of those little confirmations, I guess, if you will, right? Yeah. So what came up for you with that, Kitty?
Well, it was interesting you should say that. And I saw Janice wiping her eyes. I'd be curious how many people got tears for these parts of them understanding. They've always been together, their energy has. And what came for me is I was holding the little girl's hand, me, and she says, "You're my dragon on my I'm gonna cry. Maria, I'm gonna have you keep how many times one of us goes into tears on this, okay?" Um, and the dragon said, "You're the little girl in my heart." And it was like, oh, you guys really do know each other. So, and I was thinking about the 90 seconds. The 90 seconds is also what the dragon allows me to do is break the pattern that the little girl has used over the 90 seconds to try to make sense of things. So that's the little girl in the heart. And this is a different color. Oh, see, there they are.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. Good. Thank God for glasses. It kind of lets it pool on the bottom on your cheek. And yeah.
The mist.
Yeah. And just knowing that they know each other was such a comforting feeling. Like you guys really do know each other. Because I haven't always been sure what the dragon's job is. And the dragon's job is to help the little girl the inner child not apply those patterns past the 90 seconds.
Yeah. I would love some shares. And that's one of the things you guys will, for those, like, obviously there's a lot of my community here, but there's also people who have not been familiar with me. I love being very interactive, like Kitty and I are doing back and forth here, because it is in the hearing of other people's that you understand that it's okay to have your own experience, right? So I open the floor to other people to share as well. Go ahead, Janice. Please raise your hand. I would love to hear other people as well, okay? Go ahead, Janice.
Her dragon showed up really large in comparison to my little you, was just like this teeny little speck. So it was like such an imbalance. So my dragon took something out and sprinkled it on my little you, magic, so that she could grow and be more equal to the dragon. So that I thought that was really cool, because then they're on equal footing. There isn't a size difference or a status difference. They're equal.
Love that. Thank you for the share. Wow. Yeah. Maria.
I was nervous because how I'd said the two energies were so different, and how my little child wanted to be left alone, and the dragon's my speedy, it's my travel dragon, right? And So I recognized that I myself, adult me, felt nervous. But then when I, asked them to come together, before you'd even said that part about me being the facilitator, the dragon like went right to the ground and slunk around me and kind of went right up to her on the floor, like nose to nose. And I thought that was so sweet. Like Kitty said, like, of course you guys know each other. Like, of course the dragon's not gonna come in here bothering her. It was a very sweet moment for me too, to just trust and let the dragon do, instead of, being like, don't bug her and whatever, it felt there's a lot of processing happening right now as that's
Yeah.
sinking in, right? Yeah, it felt
Yeah.
pretty.
Thank
One
you.
tear for me, Kitty.
I just really want to, you know, they say that inner work is for the brave. Well, if we're going to do inner work, why not have an inner dragon to be our support system, to be our warrior, to be, to show the guidance, to come in and like this visual. Oh my gosh, it warmed my heart, right? Um, like we can experience so much more when we choose to do this. I would love somebody who isn't familiar with this kind of work. Phyllis, Sarah, Joanne, Simone, Fra, Rhonda, any one of you guys would like you to share what you experienced there? Go ahead, Sarah.
Technically efficient here. Oh, I'm on. Okay, where'd I go? Where'd it go? I'm messing up. Okay. I felt the dragon energy come and like enormously be beside me like a big cushion to support me.
Beautiful.
And I saw that you had said that your dragon was like a fiery breath when you breathed it, the whole yin and yang. So that's beautiful. That is gorgeous. I can feel that.
I'm very much a water person too, so that showed my balance there.
Thank you, Sarah. Beautiful. Joanne, I think I saw that you wanted to as well, please. Thank you.
Yes. The first thing that came to me when you had us visualizing the inner child and the dragon was, which is going to sound weird, was the TV shows my husband watches with all about dragons and getting onto a dragon and flying off, and every once in a while I'll sit and watch them with him. And as I was sitting in that vision just now, I asked, I was like, all right, so do I have a dragon, a dragon that's connected to me? And what does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it do? What is it doing for me? And all I kept hearing was, yes, you have a dragon. And my even though when we think about dragons, I mean, the way I think about dragons, I think about them having these long wings and taking you somewhere, flying. My dragon was so earth-bounded. Like its wings expanded, but it didn't fly. And the reason why, and said to me, I don't need to fly. You do all the flying for me. And I'm like, really? Like, really? Like, can I just sit on top of you and you lead the way? And it just shook its head like this and says, no, you do all the flying for me. I'm earthbound. And I'm like, okay. And then I literally almost said to the dragon, well, can I get one that flies so I can sit on it?
Is there a used dragon lot somewhere?
It's like, I want to be able to get on the darn thing, and it takes me somewhere, not that it's earthbound. It's like, really? Like, okay.
So I want to address that, Joanne. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I think we all really could feel the energy of your experience and your big question, right? As I stated, there are all kinds of dragons, and we have an inner dragon. So all those other dragons out there are there for you to ride on, Joanne, and anybody else who wants to ride on a dragon. Okay, they are there. Your dragon might be the type of dragon that goes through the tunnels of the earth, or runs across the mountaintops, or goes across the desert like camels. Like, be wide open to what can be experienced with this dragon specifically. Okay. Simone wants to share as well. Where is her? I've lost her. Is she still here somewhere? Oh, there she is.
I'm still here. I
Okay,
just canceled my video, and otherwise Zoom freezes, so
that's fine.
that's what. It's interesting because I have a lot to do with dragons, and I never thought about an inner dragon. And even with the work, I have my inner child showing up in different ages, whatever comes up. And when I did that, it was really a small, maybe 2 or 3 years old.
Okay.
And then the dragon, and she hugged him, and he came down, his whole head, and they kissed nose on nose. And I could feel this joy, this connection, that love. And I wasn't even aware of that because, always around me is something going on. I'm always surrounded by dragons. So this is something totally different, but I can really feel the joy, and that is really lovely.
Oh, I'm just taking in the feeling that you're exuding so much beautiful radiance, so much beautiful, like the frequency that you're radiating right now, Simone, because you've connected with that inner dragon. Like, wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, very powerful. So you can see that even just in the awareness that you have an inner dragon, your life is already shifted and changed, right? So it's now fostering that relationship. For myself, when you go through emotional periods in your life, when you go through joyous periods in your life, just reach out and see what your inner child or your inner dragon is doing. I know I have, before my inner dragon really came online, and I like the way I phrased that. Before I recognized that it was coming online, I would ask my inner child, or my inner child would be very much about, okay, like an example of this is I was on a mountain bike ride going up a hill, and my inner child was very much in the basket on my mountain bike. I don't have a basket on my mountain bike, just an FYI, but energetically, my inner child had put this basket on the front and was riding in the basket going, how much further? How much further? And was enjoying the ride as I slugged and pushed my bike up this hill. Was very joyous when we got to the top of the hill and started to go down, because then it was like the hair flying back and I'm enjoying life now. And now being able to incorporate this inner dragon energy with this, like even just my remembering of this, I could feel how my inner dragon was so much a part of that. So we can look back on our life right now and see where our inner dragon was very much a part of our life. I remember, for instance, is a school friend. I think we were grade 3. He was running and he fell and he hurt himself. And I remember, I had been bullied in school, and, was primarily used to just sit in my desk and not be involved in things. But I got up and I ran over to help him. So that was my inner dragon helping me to be something that I hadn't been before, right? Yeah.
I think that that's a very important thing you just said. Your inner dragon was helping you be. And that's what I'm realizing about this. Your inner dragon helps you just be Sandra Pelley, and be the Sandini, and be the mentor. It's all of those pieces. So somebody who's new looking at this, what kinds of things could you kind of give us hints to take a look at how to deal with this practically every day, because
Mm.
I'm realizing, though I know about this, I don't know about it every day. So setting the intention around it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the cues or clues was in something that I just said, that you can look back at your life and see where your inner dragon and your inner child were a part of that. You can do the same thing in this moment. I mean, we all know that, oh, we have all these tools in our toolbox and we can call upon them. However, how many of us actually call upon them in the moment? Very rarely, right? Unless it becomes the habit. And so it's creating the habit is one of the pieces. However, we can also, in the moment that we recognize that, oh, I could have called upon my inner dragon or my inner child to see what was going on. Even in that moment, it's important to call upon them and see what they felt, what they experienced, what they wanted to show you about that. You know, I constantly ask the 5 W's and the H: who, what, when, where, why, and how, and making a practice of that. So maybe a beautiful call to action for tonight is when you are lay down is ask who your inner dragon is for you. What is its purpose? Why is it here? Where did it come from? Like, even in those questions, it's like, it's so interesting because our human mind wants to go, well, da, 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 da. Except that I'm asking you actually to let your imagination pop in those words, pop in those reactions, so that you get a true sense of who that inner dragon actually is.
I think that's beautiful, because I'm realizing that when a memory comes up, a memory as a child, I can go back to this introduction and ask, literally my little you can ask, what's going on? What can, and revisit the energy even around that memory. Because we know that time is our constraint. We can still change the energy around it. That I really like that idea of truly bringing my inner dragon in to take a look at that situation again. Not only in the present, because then it shows up. If it becomes a practice on what I've done, then it will become a practice for what I do. So very, very much so. So how did you discover this?
Yeah, you know what? I'm very conscious of my time, so I'm just going to keep that answer brief, and then I want to offer you guys something. So how did I discover this? Well, it's interesting because I've been doing some inner work, and I think because of the inner work that I've been doing, you guys have heard the I am open mantra. If you've been part of the opening ceremony, you've heard the I am love mantra, possibly in today's, as I did this with Kitty. So thank you, Kitty, for that. Those have developed and grown and shifted and changed as my personal journey has grown and shifted and changed. And I had dragons start to be even more in my awareness. And it started with one a number of years ago when we started up the Medicine Wheel program. And that has really shifted and changed and is actually being reintroduced with the dragon energy, ideally in the fall. Having said that, there was this little niggling that there's something else going on here, right? And that's when, I guess you could say that I was sitting in my living room. I was literally sitting in my living room and I was connecting in with dragon energy and was given this name, the Dragon Ally. And I just want to point out, this is one of the things that I really help people to understand is the terminologies that we use. I didn't get a dragon ally, I got the dragon ally, because it is who I am in my uniqueness. Each of you could be the dragon ally as well, because you're coming in from your own unique point of view. So it's really important to claim the word the in front of anything that you are, okay? Anyway, all of these dragons appeared in my living room, and it just kind of started to escalate from there. And I don't even remember the exact moment that inner dragons started to appear, but it started to become such a force in my life that my life completely shifted and changed. And I want to tell you, when I say that my life completely shifted and changed, I ended up getting COVID. I had to take a month off of my life and recuperate. My husband and I took a break then and went mountain biking for a month. I came back and I was shoved into a caregiving role for family members. Complete chaos. Our truck broke down. And then I shifted into getting back on my mountain bike again, and I broke my ribs. And just, it's been like boom, boom, boom. Things have been put in front of me to either do one of two things. Either I would go, this is too much, I can't do any of this, and I'm done. Or I'm like, I am just going to show up for my life and make a difference in my life and persevere with this energy, meaning I'm going to connect with my inner child and my inner dragon and see where this wants to go. What lessons am I learning here? And that is really why the inner dragon has just completely flourished. And I liken it now to like beautiful clear water in a pond, and then it's got this algae, but it's not necessarily an algae. It's just this, all this dragon energy is now really prevalent in my life in a very massive way. Yeah. So yeah.
And that's how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope you heard there that things will happen in your life. They'll either be wonderful or they'll be like, holy cow, what do I do right now? Do I quit or do I move forward? And that's what's really important, is how are you going to approach your life? So with that in mind, I'd love to tell you about my offer. My gift for you today is that in September, I am offering, it's called Reveal the Incredible You. And it's a 2-day gathering where you get to really understand the parts of yourself in a different way. It is evolving even as we speak. I have run this type of event in the past 3, 4, 5 times, and it has evolved every single time that we come into it. I can honestly tell you that. Exactly. Kitty's been a part of that in different ways. And in essence, I'm inviting you to come and check it out, what it is to understand who your inner child and your inner dragon is in a more in-depth manner over this 2-day full event. And it's like, I'm not going to say it's very similar to the summit per se, but the timing of it will be, it'll be full days, 2 full days where you are really brought in deeply into that energy and you get to understand it at a whole different level. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for sharing this summit, for taking the time also to talk about your work, which is so amazingly important, and going back to what you do for work, the 1 million people you are trying to reach. That is a goal to be admired, and I know you're going to do it. I just know you're going to do it. So thank you.
It's so interesting on, I'm looking at notes when I was in my workout earlier. Now my workout space is my space where I really go, it's an out of body experience, even though I'm supposed to be in my body while I'm training. And I usually get spiritual hits when I'm working out, and insight on either what my next article is going to be or whatever. And so interesting on the work that you do in regards to the inner child, the inner dragon, and discovering like whatever season, like you were explaining about your journey. And literally on paper, I have, what is your season? Literally, where I'm going to actually work on an article about this, because we as humans don't realize that we go through seasons of different things that happen in our lives, and there's seasons for us to have a lesson. Like one of the seasons is called honeymoon season. And obviously we can all pretty much guess what a honeymoon season is. Everything is perfect, everything is joyful, everything is happy. But then we have the retrograde season. Oh shit, everything is in retrograde, everything is going backwards. And there's other seasons as well. And when we can understand our season, when we're in the season, we won't be in such a rush to rush the season like we do when we have 4 seasons. I mean, I know out here where I live, we're always talking about how much we want summer to get here. Summer's here. Now people are literally counting down, oh, there's only 96 days to Christmas. Christmas, like it's summertime. Can we enjoy the heat? Can we enjoy the sun? Can we enjoy the fact that we're perspiring? We're so in a rush to move out of our season that we miss the lessons in our season, and sometimes we have to repeat the season.
Yeah.
Because we missed our lessons. So I'm so grateful to you for sharing all of what you've been through. All the bumps, the bruises, and sometimes it happens is we have to be bruised sometimes to pay attention to our season. So thank you.
Joanne, I love that, because I think what I've learned about the dragon is if I pay attention to the dragon will help me not rush where I am.
Yeah.
I depend on the dragon when I need, and the inner child, and we move forward versus, and I learned yesterday listening to you, I'm going to celebrate the wrinkles. I'm going to celebrate the season I'm in. I laughed when I asked Maria to keep track of how many tears, but I'm going to say, it was a great seminar. We all cried 5 or 6 times each, so.
Yeah. Thanks, Joanne. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Kitty, so much for facilitating my my conversation here. I really appreciate you.